All right, ladies and gentlemen, there's so much video and stuff we could show you out of Davos. I'm going to try to speed through it here. The president's doing a ton of interviews, taking the edge off of Joe's quote-unquote exclusive. And then Thursday, we now know he's doing an interview with Maria Bartiromo. So 3 interviews in 3 days, at least, for the president, even as he's meeting in Davos. The president is last night up late, got back from the game. First, he talked as he was departing the game. And then as he got back to the White House, he was all over Truth Social. Maybe he did it from the plane. I don't know. Here's one of the tweets, the president post he did on Truth Social. He took a message he got, private message he got from the head of NATO, about whom he tweeted in a very positive way, and he just posted it. This is in clear revenge, or I should say apparent revenge, for a European leader posting the president's messages. Here's the message the president posted that he got from the head of NATO. Mr. President, dear Donald, what you accomplished in Syria today is incredible. I will use my media engagements in Davos to highlight your work there in Gaza and in Ukraine. I'm committed to finding a way forward on Greenland. Can't wait to see you. Yours, Mark. I can't believe he didn't say, can't wait to see ya. Let's pause right here, even though I have a million things.
Heart emoji. Where's the kissing heart emoji?
Yeah. Melissa, what would happen if foreign leaders and government officials just started posting each other's private text messages? What would happen in the world?
Well, I mean, we're seeing what will happen. And apparently the answer is nothing. I mean, we'll see what are we going to do? Threaten tariffs? Are we going to, is this going to be the new form of how we're going to go to war or merge alliances? Who knows? But this apparently is the world that we're living in. Decorum is dead. Norms no longer exist. And we post each other's foreign leader tweets and chats.
All right. Well said. All right, here we go. Just to give you an idea of the news coverage this morning, just everybody in Davos is just consumed with this. The world media is consumed with this. We've got the tariffs and what Europe's going to do about the tariffs and their threat of the bazooka and also the rough language. Scott Bessent, we won't play this right now, and the Speaker of the House, very upbeat about what's going on. Relations with Europe have never been better. The U.S. is going to get its way and everyone will be happy. Here's someone at Davos less happy with what's going on. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the Democratic presidential frontrunner for 2028 and Davos man extraordinaire with the hella good hair, Gavin Newsom. 107, please.
Cannot take their children to school. They cannot go to the grocery store.
Do you have a message for Europeans who are concerned about the messages from the White House around Greenland this week?
Yeah, it's time to buck up. It's time to get serious and stop being complicit. It's time to stand tall and firm, have a backbone. I've seen this in the United States, the supine Congress playing both sides, saying one thing on a text or a tweet, another publicly.
Should
it's
you
time to
respond
have
with
principles.
tariffs?
It's time to stand tall and strong.
Does that mean
it's
responding
time
with
to
tariffs?
stand united? You make that determination. I don't make that determination.
But when you say standing tall, what do you mean?
I can't take this complicity. People rolling over. I should have brought a bunch of knee pads for all the world leaders. Handing out crowns and this is pathetic. Nobel Prizes, they are being given away.
Hollywood
it's just
reference.
pathetic. And I hope people understand how pathetic they look on the world stage. At least from an American perspective, it's embarrassing.
So what should Europe be doing?
You should decide, the Europeans should decide for themselves what to do.
Wow. We'll get to that in a minute. Here's someone also in Davos, less full-throated. Tom Tillis, a Republican senator from North Carolina who's retiring, often cast as a huge critic of the president, but he's got a new thesis. It's not the president's fault. It's the advisors to the president's fault. Here's Tom Tillis on Squawk 118, please.
Senator, thank you.
Oh, thank you. And to be clear, I'm not critical of the president. I'm critical of the bad advice he's getting on Greenland.
Okay, well, let's talk about that. You were on the floor of the Senate recently and said, I'm sick of the stupid. What were you referring to?
If you take a look at Greenland, they've, for about 4,500 years, the indigenous people have been there. Greenland is a part of Denmark. They're a great ally on a per capita basis. They lost as many people in Afghanistan, satisfying the Article 5 commitment, the NATO Article 5 commitment. They are great patriots. They're good people. They should be treated with respect. And they should know that Denmark and Greenland would move heaven and earth to have an increased presence there like we had at the height, 17 bases. at the height of our presence there. All of that is possible without spending a dime or having all this drama. That's what I was talking about.
So what advice do you think the president's getting? And
I think the president needs someone who understands the destabilizing influence on NATO, the most important alliance in the history of the world, and a group of people who want to work with us.
Poor Donald Trump being duped by his advisors. All right, here's that report, and listen to the BBC lady in her plummy accent.
President Trump has fired off more social media posts asserting his desire to take over Greenland as he prepares to meet European leaders in Switzerland. He marks the one-year anniversary of his return to the White House with a barrage of comments on Truth Social. While there's plenty to worry European and world leaders, not least this image that possibly sums up his expansionist vision for America.
And our top story this morning, the global markets are reacting to President Trump's threat to hit a group of European countries with escalating tariffs if the United States isn't allowed to buy Greenland. As a result, the futures are deep in the red this morning.
Risk off. Equity futures sink while treasuries join a global bond sell-off as Donald Trump's latest tariff threats revive trade tensions.
All right. I could show you a barrage of more comments from the Europeans saying this is horrible, but they want to work it out. I could show you a barrage of American commentators very upset. I just want to show you one more thing. Josh Dawsey of the Wall Street Journal is one of the reporters who everyone in the White House trusts, who's very good sources. When his name's on a story, it's almost always something the White House reads carefully. You can take it to the bank. Here's what he says, in his story says this morning, about what the impact of what the president's done. By threatening tariffs and leaving the specter of military action on the table in recent days, he has stunned even some aides who now believe it could become more difficult for Europeans to accept any sort of negotiation given the U.S. president's increasing demands. Some of Trump's advisors privately worried that the tariffs and other saber-rattling have made a deal to buy the island difficult, if not impossible, to achieve. All right, again, there's a million more things we could do, but let's stop the barrage. Melissa, do you think it's possible that the president, rather than gaining leverage and getting a better deal, has in fact now foreclosed the prospect of any deal or a good deal for the United States?
I think that the future of where this goes rests not with the anger of the New York Times editorial board or Republican senators or Gavin Newsom or any of this. It's going to rest on the bond market. You're starting to see what's happening now, reflective of similarly what happened with Liberation Day back in the spring when he was threatening tariffs, and all of a sudden you saw the markets collapse and the bond market collapse, and then he pulled back. I think you're going to see the instability in the market dictate more what Donald Trump does in terms of his next move. And I think ultimately there could be a deal, mineral rights, who knows? But I think it is going to make it more difficult for Europe to just bend over, excuse the language.
Yeah. Larry, is Melissa right that if markets don't like what's going on, and yesterday they didn't like it, but the U.S. was closed, so we'll have the first day of trading in the U.S. here now, but the futures are weak. Is that something that could cause the president to have to back down?
It could, if one of those hated advisors that Senator Tillis doesn't like Scott Bessent, actually says, Mr. President, this is starting to become a problem. And I think we have seen the president adjust his policies, or at least his public stance on policies, or he maintains his public stance on policies and then changes things behind the scenes when nobody's really watching as acutely. So sure, that could be the situation here. But honestly, watching that montage of reports, it reminds me of the cats in the media chasing the laser pointer here when Trump does something knowing that they're going to react, and in many cases overreact here as they are. To see Gavin Newsom, an American governor of the largest and most populous state in our nation, go overseas and encourage foreign leaders to stand up to the president of our country. Honestly, I found that extraordinary, and something that I don't honestly think is going to serve him well, maybe with his base, but I don't think it's going to serve him well in the general election.
Melissa, what do you think of that Newsom thing?
No, look, and I'm a Democrat, and I'm all for standing up to Trump when it's appropriate and doing it in the right ways. And I just think that that's Newsom saying provocative things to get Newsom on television and to rile up the far left flank of the party, which right now the only thing they care about is who can shout louder at Donald Trump. And he wants to be seen as more of a formidable adversary than someone like AOC or Bernie Sanders or whoever on the far left is running. But I agree with you. That completely turns me off. And I'm someone on the left of center, and I'm like, what the hell are you doing other than trying to make yourself look tough?
But what about the argument that Donald Trump draws no lines about criticizing people anytime, anywhere, any place, and the Democrats can't play by Marcus of Queensberry rules against Donald Trump? What about that?
Donald Trump is, I think that Donald Trump is Donald Trump. I don't think anyone can ever replicate him. And I don't think that we should try. I don't think that that should be the goal moving forward. I think that once this era is past us, I'm hoping that there's some sort of return to the center, some sort of return to normalization that he's sort of thrown out the window. But I don't think Trump's not on the ticket next time. Like, I don't know why we're trying to out Trump when he's not going to be on the ticket next time.
Okay.
Yeah, it is remarkable how many times people you can absolutely say you're right. Trump does these outrageous things and therefore it's fair game, but you also can't at the same time say, "Oh, why can't we return to the norms?" You cannot have it both ways.
All right. Yes or no? There's no hedging. I need a yes/no answer from both of you. Does Donald Trump want to destroy NATO or strengthen it? Does he want to destroy NATO? Yes or no, Larry?
No.
Melissa?
No.
Okay, just so you know, I have to deal every day with lots of people telling me Donald Trump wants to destroy NATO. Now, answer me this. One of the things that really pisses off Donald Trump and his dim-witted advisors, in the view of Senator Tillis, is the Europeans have empowered Russia and China like crazy, buying Russian oil, trading with China. And so their view is all this hand-wringing from the Europeanists in the United States, and for the Europeans themselves, that Trump is, by dividing NATO, is helping Russia and China. The White House finds that to be a bit rich. Larry, what do you think of that debate?
I think I think that it is an appropriate and understandable discussion that we need to have.
What kind of mealy-mouthed, weaselly thing is that? Is the White House right that the Europeans don't have a leg to stand on regarding favoring Putin? I mean, before the war they met with Putin all the time.
I think it's obvious that the Europeans misplayed their dependence on Russian oil and Russian gas. Trump is on the record warning them about it. Yeah. And now it is appropriate for Trump to walk into Europe, walk into Davos, and do a bit of a victory lap and say, now can we get down to real business and talk about the realities of where we are globally, especially now that America is once again emerging as an energy force on the planet.
All right, that was the answer I was looking for. Melissa? Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry.
Melissa, that's right. Melissa, China and Russia, are, for those who are saying this plays right into their hands, does it? Or does it try to reorder the world in a way that would allow the U.S. long-term to, if not beat China and Russia, at least tie them?
I think that it's too soon to tell. I think it could. I think that they're watching this very closely. I think that we don't know yet how this is going to play out. I think ultimately the president will end up making some sort of a deal and this will all sort of deflate, or at least that's my hope. But I think that they're watching this very closely and it could potentially strengthen them. I think we just don't know yet.
They say that something that's easy is like a walk in the park. Well, easier than a walk in the park, hit the subscribe button, be part of the two-way community, never miss an episode, be part of our conversations. Thank you for your service to America.
And don't forget, you can now listen to the morning meeting and Two-Way Tonight on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.